What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome to the Rundown with Payton and Marcus. We have a jam-packed show today. We have like a ton of different segments here because we had to add in a lot because of all this news that just broke out with Ime Udoka and the Boston Celtics and what's going on there. But first off, Marcus, how you doing, bro?
You know I'm doing great.
Yeah, I know now you're doing good.
You know I'm doing great.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Wanted to say hi, man. Wanted to give you the chance to
We'll get there.
You know, gave him the little awkward. How you doing? So listen, Ime Udoka. This just broke this morning. I woke up at about 6 a.m. I look at my phone. Ime Udoka facing a significant suspension that is believed to be up to a year after having what is considered to be an improper consensual relationship with a staff member of the Boston Celtics. Marcus, what are your thoughts on this? This was like completely out of left field. Out of all of the breaking news that I thought I could wake up to at 6 a.m., this was probably at the bottom of the list.
There's a radio station in DC. I don't know if they still do it. I forget. I can't think of the radio station. If you guys are from DC, you guys know what I'm talking about. There's this guy, this radio show host, and he would always give out a "You Big Dummy of the Week" award. Ime Udoka, you big dummy. I mean, look, keep your hands to yourself, keep your stuff in your pants, but also like, it's Nia Long, bro. Like, really. Like, I'm sure there's a much more realistic thing that we could be talking about, but that's what I'm stuck on is how do you go and you do that? That's just I just don't know. I just don't know. But that's unfortunate. I feel like that drastically affects Boston's championship hopes and odds and things of that sort heading into next season because he was a big reason why they were able to obviously, you know, stay afloat and make adjustments and things like that as the season progressed. But you big dummy, Ime Udoka, shame on you. Just shame on you.
I mean, it's unbelievable to think that this just kind of like broke out like this. I mean, like, you got to know better, bro. You know what I mean? You got to know better. And it's like, even if it's consensual, you never know what's going to get leaked. And now he's facing the suspension. What is Boston going to look like if Ime Udoka is suspended the entire year? Is this going to affect them a lot, or is it really just going to be not that big of a deal at all?
It's absolutely going to affect them a lot. There's no way it doesn't. I can't foresee a scenario where you losing your head coach doesn't affect you. Regardless of the talent on the court, someone's got to coach. Someone's got to call the shots. Are they going to bring Brad Stevens back down to the head coaching position just for 1 year? Maybe. We saw what that looked like. Didn't really amount to many legitimate championship contenders, but maybe things have changed because the roster is better. I mean, I don't know. But this is just – no one saw this coming. That's for sure. Nobody saw this coming.
Man, it's – I didn't see it coming either. I don't even really know what to say about it other than like, damn, that's crazy. But we'll move on. So there was a whole investigation going on about Robert Sarver, the owner of the Phoenix Suns and for the WNBA, were doing a lot of that were 1 inappropriate, 2 racist, 3 sexist, and anything above all of that. And he got suspended for a year. He was fined, I believe, $5 million or something, minuscule to a billionaire, something like that. And now he's saying that he's going to sell the franchises. He's kind of being all weird and spiteful about it, like, oh, I want this and this and that, and a whole lot of this. Marcus, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, racist people tend to get upset when they get caught. That's usually how it goes. They do racist things, they do sexist things, they do misogynistic things, they do things that only trashy human beings will do, and then they get caught and they want to play the victim. Robert Sarver, you're a loser. You're a moron. You're a trash human being. It's really that simple. It doesn't get any more simpler than that. Like it is really that simple. That's all I really got. Like we see this all the time. You know, we kind of saw this with the owner from the Clippers a couple years ago, right? He said all those bad things. People found out about it. He kind of trying to make himself the victim. Like, no, you're the villain in this story here. Own it. Deal with it, accept the consequences, sell the seam, and go on about your merry way. It's very simple concept here. He's a trash human being, and he should. I do agree with LeBron James and Chris Paul that being banned for a year is like a slap on the wrist, and the fine is like you mentioned, chump change to $1 billion. He should have been fined much more. He should have been suspended much more, or whatever the case may be. But Yeah, like this is one too many times now that we've seen an owner in the NBA or an owner really in any sport be accused or found guilty of some sort of racism, sexism, misogyny, whatever the case may be. It's just unacceptable. Like there needs to be some type of vetting process or something for these owners before they just buy out the team, because this is ridiculous now that we've had about 3 or 4 different owners in the last maybe 5 to 7 years. I mean, you think about the owner in the NFL that said his players were like inmates running the yard. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's just, there needs to be something that needs to be done about this, because this is just unacceptable. That should not be something that is taking place in sports, especially when you consider the fact that this is an owner of a sports team that is in a league that is majority African American. It should be non-tolerable. So, yeah, he's a trash human being, and to hell with him.
Yeah, I think the irony about this whole situation is that Robert Sarver releases a statement trying to make himself the victim, saying that he is a man of faith and that he believes in forgiveness. And in today's society, and he's referring to cancel culture, that in today's society that's so unforgiving, I have to sell the team. Well, listen, anyone who knows me knows that I'm the biggest hater in cancel culture. I think it's a load of crap. This is not cancel culture. This is, dude, you're doing inappropriate things. You're saying terrible racist stuff to employees and coworkers that if you say in your place of work, you get fired if you're a normal human being. If I go out and I say sexist stuff at whatever job I'm working at, it could be a restaurant, it could be a bank, it could be anywhere, you get fired, bro. That's what happens. Just because you're a multi-billionaire owner and you have all this money and power doesn't mean you can say these things and do these things and get away with it. And I think that it's funny. We talked about Ime Udoka earlier. He's having consensual relationships with someone within the organization. He's not doing anything against the law. He's not doing anything that's harming another individual. And he's going to be suspended for a year. And that was the same amount of time that Robert Sarver is getting suspended for being racist and inappropriate and sexist. That's alarming. That is something worth noting. That is saying, like, listen, like, this needs to, like, stop. Like, this needs to be changed. The NBA needed to take a bigger look at this. And luckily, he's selling the team and everything. Like, he's going to be out of the NBA circle, which he shouldn't be in to begin with after doing all this stuff. But I don't know. And he talks about forgiveness from, being a man of faith. Dude, if God's going to forgive you, that's up to you and God. But, dude, like, we don't have to forgive you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you did was wrong.
Doing so.
Yeah. Like, what you did was wrong. Own up to it, bro. Like, it's unbelievable. So we'll move on from that to the crazy NFL weekend that we had. And, oh, my gosh, did I take a lot of L's or what? I know. Marcus was roasting the crap out of me all over Instagram and Twitter, because if you missed it last week, we had a huge, like, blow-up debate about how much I love the Vikings and how much he doesn't love the Vikings. And the only one game that me and Marcus disagreed on last week in our pick'em was that Monday night game between the Vikings and the Eagles, where the Eagles absolutely demolished the Vikings, embarrassed them. Monday night, Kirk Cousins is like the worst quarterback in all of the entire NFL ever. And Jalen Hurts and the Eagles went and they looked like true contenders. And there are a lot of raising questions. Could they be the best team in the NFC? Could they even compete for a Super Bowl? Marcus, what are your takeaways from Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' big Monday night win?
Damn that. You can have that. Listen, I sat here on the show last week, and I tried to tell Payton that the Minnesota Vikings fooled him, and he didn't want to believe me. He's got the Vikings going to the Super Bowl, which is absolutely ridiculous. He said, I'm sleeping on this defense. The defense that you were sleeping on, was the Eagles defense, because they had 3 picks. They should have had like 6 or 7. Kirk Cousins looked terrible. Kirk Cousins is the definition of mediocrity. He's 60, and 2 in his career. Perfectly well-balanced, as all things should be. Kirk Cousins is garbage on primetime. He's 2-9. And I sat here and I said, Payton, listen, the Vikings, not good. Payton bought into this crazy game that they had in week 1 when Justin Jefferson had 8 catches for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fine, get it. Smoked my Packers. Here's the deal. The Vikings, trash. The Eagles, real deal. They have an identity. They're a good football team. Quarterbacks, fantastic. Running games, fantastic. Wide receiver room is okay. It's getting there. They're starting to get their rhythm with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I don't know if I'd say they're Super Bowl contenders, because I don't think the Eagles could beat the Packers. I don't know if the Eagles could beat the Bucs. I don't know if the Eagles could beat the Rams in a playoff environment specifically. Maybe in the regular season, sure. But when it matters in the playoffs, I don't know. But this isn't really about the Eagles. Damn the Eagles. This is about the fact that I sat here on this show last week and I tried to tell Peyton J. Doyle that the Minnesota Vikings are fraud, that the Minnesota Vikings aren't good, and all he could talk about to me was Kirk Cousins and the defense and Justin Jefferson, and I just sat back and I enjoyed a 24-7 victory, and you know it's a weird victory because the pick overall was 7-9 for the week, but the one that mattered was the one against the Vikings because I told you so, bro. Like I sat here and I told you so, and I tried to give you some wisdom, and you didn't want to take it, and that's what you get. That's exactly what you get. The Vikings are trash. They're going nowhere no time soon.
I wouldn't call the Vikings trash. I wouldn't call them trash. However, they do have some stuff to work out after. But I think that was more about the Eagles. Like this was like almost like coming of age for the Eagles. Like they finally arrived, like a win. Like listen, we are that team. We have Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are both playing towards their strength, and the team has completely evolved. Not only are they going to run away with the NFC East, I don't think they're contenders in the NFC just yet. I wouldn't take them over the Bucs, but the Rams are kind of in disarray. The Packers don't look that great from top to bottom after what happened in Week 1. To the Vikings, by the way.
Why do you keep holding on to this Week 1 football game? Let it go.
Dude, I'm not.
Let it go.
The Vikings are going to be completely fine. The Vikings are going to make the playoffs. Listen, I said that the Vikings were going to catch fire at the time. This is a new head coach, a new offensive system. It's going to take time for everything to set into place in Minnesota. It's all brand new. Not everything happens overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day.
This isn't Rome. This is not Rome that's being built in Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings.
It could be Rome. It could be Rome.
Okay.
It could be Rome. But we're not talking about the Vikings. We're talking about the Eagles.
Okay.
We're talking about the Eagles and how they stack up against the NFC.
Sure.
The Packers, they're a little bit shaky. They have a lot of things that they need to work out as well. The Bucs have a lot of things that they need to work out. I think they'll hit their stride eventually. Both the Packers and the Vikings will be fine. The Rams, they haven't hit their stride yet. They need to work it out.
The Vikings,
but the Eagles right now have their stuff together more than all of the other NFC teams. Right now, they are the best team in the NFC. I don't think they will be week in, week out. I want to see how they do against a team that's better than the Vikings. Not that I'm saying that the Vikings are bad.
The Vikings are, you don't have to say it. I'm saying the Vikings are bad. The Vikings are a one-dimensional, one-sided football team.
We'll see how they stack up. And the Eagles have an easy schedule.
Payton, the definition of a bad football team is a one-sided football team. The Vikings defense isn't good. It's not. It's not. It's not.
What if it's one-sided on defense, though? Because all these years, everyone's been trying to tell me that the Steelers are a good football team because they have a good defense.
No, the Steelers are a good football team because Mike Tomlin is the head coach, and no matter what, they find a way to win at least 8 games and come out of the season at least with a winning record. That's what makes the Steelers good. The Vikings have done nothing since Kirk Cousins has been the quarterback that would make you believe that the Vikings are a good football team. The Vikings went to the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum, and the following season they got Kirk Cousins. They haven't sniffed an NFC Championship game since they've had Kirk Cousins on the roster, which would lead you to believe that the Vikings are better at the court. They were better with Case Keenum than they have been so far with Kirk Cousins. They have been the definition of mediocrity, and they get all this praise. All this could be the Vikings' year to win the division. It's not happening. The Vikings are a load of garbage. The Eagles, on the other hand, are a bona fide, solid football team with an identity. They have a good quarterback. They have a good running game. They have good wide receivers. They have a solid defense. I think Nick Sirianni is an up-and-coming coach in the league. I wouldn't say that Nick Sirianni is one of the best coaches in the NFC, but he's definitely not over the sea of mediocrity and unprovenness that is Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings. And I do think that I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles, if they can continue and keep up with what they've been doing, could make some noise in the NFC. I'm not going to crown them as Super Bowl contenders, but I just feel like it's important to note that you have the Vikings going to the Super Bowl, which is just terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
I mean, dude, I didn't want to be lame. I didn't want to pick the Bucs. I didn't want to pick the Rams. That's lame. You know what I mean? Like you gotta spice it up somehow. If there was a team in the NFC going into the year that I thought, if you asked me who do I have more faith in, the Vikings or the Eagles going into the year, I would have told you the Vikings.
For what?
Because
what Vikings have better than the Eagles that would lead you to believe you have more faith?
Their offense is better. their offense, the offense in Minnesota is better than that of the Eagles.
Is Kirk Cousins better than Jalen Hurts? No, he's not.
Going into the year, I could make that argument.
No,
right now, no.
No, Steve. Damn it! Almost called you Stevie. No, Payton, you can't. You cannot make that argument. Do the Vikings have a better offensive line than the Eagles? No, they don't. They don't. They don't. Do the Vikings have a better rushing attack than the Eagles? No, they don't.
But they have a better running back. Like Dalvin Cook would be the best running back in Philly.
Sure. But Dalvin Cook also only plays 8 to 10 games a season. So what does that do for me? Absolutely nothing. It does nothing for me. It does nothing for me. Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell would all be running backs 2 through 4 on Minnesota's depth chart. Damn,
Alexander Madison's kind of nice though.
He's not better than
Alexander Madison's kind of nice. Come on.
He's not. And Philly's defense is better than Minnesota's defense. Payton, what are we doing?
Dude,
what are we doing?
I'm a big Vikings guy. I'm telling you, to give them the first 4, 5, 6 weeks to figure this out with Kevin O'Connell's new system in there. Justin Jefferson is going to be looking like Cooper Kupp down the stretch, and the Vikings offense is really, really going to be turning up. I'm telling you.
Denying how
I'm not letting it go.
It's going to be. I'm saying that the defense is not Super Bowl caliber. It's not. It's not at all. The Cowboys have a better defense. The Packers have a better defense. The Bucs have a better defense. The Rams have a better defense. The Eagles, so far, as we saw them match up just a few nights ago, have a better defense. That's 5 defenses right there that are better. What are we doing? What are we doing?
I heard this about Cincinnati last year.
No, you did not. You did, and I can't believe
Cincinnati's defense is terrible. Cincinnati, blah, 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 blah. They get to the playoffs. Guess what? They got hot at the right exact time. I think that this could happen to Minnesota. I think it can.
It's not going to happen to Minnesota. They're not even going to win the division.
Am I putting money on it? No.
Minnesota isn't winning the division, and they're not winning a playoff game. It's really that simple.
I didn't pick them to win the division. And I did pick them to win a playoff game, though. But anyways, another NFC team going through a little bit of troubles with Trey Lance went down with an ankle injury, had to have surgery, and his season's over. So now Jimmy Garoppolo, an old face that just can't get away from San Francisco, is back in. And a lot of players and coaches have reportedly privately said or expressed that the team is better now with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback as opposed to Trey Lance. So what are the expectations for the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo as quarterback?
NFC Championship game. That's easy. When healthy, Jimmy G and the 49ers have been to 2 NFC Championship games. The 1 year Jimmy G wasn't healthy, or the 2 years Jimmy G wasn't healthy, they didn't make the playoffs. The 2 years he was healthy, they're in the NFC Championship game. So the expectations for the 49ers in the division that has Seattle with no Russ, the lowly Arizona Cardinals, and the Rams, who have seemingly been a little bit slow coming out of the gate so far through 2 weeks, is an NFC Championship game. Do I think they can make it to the NFC Championship? I don't know. I don't. I do think, though, that history tells us that they can. And if I'm going to bet on history, I'm going to say that you could, because history tells us that we need to pay attention to it, lest we are doomed to repeat it. Well, if we keep sleeping on the 49ers and if we keep discrediting Jimmy G and talking about how wins isn't a quarterback stat, despite the fact in the last 22 years, there are only 4 other guys that have a higher winning percentage in at least 50 starts than Jimmy G. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. That's it. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Peyton Manning has multiple Super Bowl championships. Patrick Mahomes has a Super Bowl championship. Lamar Jackson does not, but many believe he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Me, I'm still on the fence about that. But that's the company he keeps. Like, whether you want to admit it or not, that's the company Jimmy G keeps. Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers are going to win the division. Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers are going to make it into the playoffs. Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers might just make it back to their 3rd NFC championship games in 4 years, their 2nd in a row.
I don't know about NFC Championship. I think it could happen because you don't have to sell me on Jimmy G. Jimmy G is that guy. Like you said, no, he just wins football games. He might not do anything flashy. He might not put the team on his back, but Jimmy G wins. Jimmy G wins on Sunday, and Jimmy G gives the 49ers
and Thursdays too.
Yeah, and Mondays and Thursdays too. Kirk Cousins is the guy that doesn't win on Mondays. That's right.
Both of them. Yeah.
But Jimmy Garoppolo wins on Sunday, and he gives the 49ers a better chance to win on Sunday. Now, let me ask you this, Marcus. If they make a playoff run and they win, let's say they win a playoff game, they win in the wild card round, what are you doing with Trey Lance next year?
You're getting rid of him.
Yeah.
What are you keeping him for? There's no reason, there's no incentive to keep Trey Lance. There is no guarantee that Trey Lance can come and replicate what Jimmy G has done for you 3 of the last 4 seasons. At that point, if they do make it back to the NFC Championship game, that's a fact. That's what I've been saying all offseason. 49ers fans don't believe me for some god-awful reason because they're too stubborn. Because here's the deal. If Trey Lance stinks up the joint, what are the 49ers going to be saying? Oh, I want to see Jimmy G back out there. That's what's going to happen because Jimmy G is proven. The most handsomest man in the NFL right now also happens to be one of the most winningest quarterbacks in the NFL right now. That's how it works. He produces you division wins. He produces playoff appearances. He produces playoff wins. He produces a Super Bowl appearance, NFC Championship game appearances. That's how it works. Jimmy G is not that old. Jimmy G is still very capable at the quarterback position. They're going to have a good test against the Denver Broncos, which isn't much of a test because the Broncos are absolutely cooked and they're done for this season. But still, potentially a test nonetheless in Mile High against the Broncos on Sunday Night Football of this upcoming week. And we'll see how things go. But Jimmy G and the 49ers are just fine. I think the 49ers are better off with Jimmy G than without Trey Lance. I've been saying that for the last 6 or 7 months now. So that's nothing new. I guess it's new for this because it's the first time I've said it on this show. But I'll be saying it umpteen more times. You know, porn star Jimmy's fantastic. He's a wonderful quarterback, and he's going to lead the 49ers to yet another division win and potentially another NFC Championship game this season. Very simple.
Fair enough. I agree. I love Jimmy G, and I think there's a good chance that Trey Lance does get traded in the offseason because Jimmy G is going to win games. How many times does the former 3rd overall pick, the next franchise quarterback for an organization, go down with a season-ending injury, and then the team's Super Bowl odds go up? It doesn't happen very often.
No.
Vegas knows Jimmy G wins.
Yep.
And when you're John Lynch and you're Kyle Shanahan, yeah, you kind of just have to cut your losses that you made a bad pick with a 3rd overall pick for drafting Trey Lance. You made a bad pick. You jumped on a guy. You realize he doesn't win as much as Jimmy G. You have to move on. You have to cut your losses and move on. Because what keeps your job in the NFL isn't hitting on draft picks. Bill Belichick hasn't hit on a draft pick in 20 years. It's winning on Sunday. Bill Belichick wins on Sunday. Jimmy Garoppolo wins on Sunday. If Trey Lance isn't winning on Sunday, you have to move him and move on. I don't care that he was a 3rd overall pick.
Yep.
Now, this team. Let me tell you, if I was Germ right now, if I was Germ Edwards right now, every morning that I wake up, I'd be doing backflips and somersaults knowing that I'm a Buffalo Bills fan because I'm a Browns fan.
You know he's already doing backflips and somersaults as a Buffalo Bills.
Fair enough, yeah. But as a fan of other teams that aren't as good as the Bills, you wake up in the morning on Sunday and you're like, it's like going to your job. It's like putting on your team's jersey is like, man, back to the old grind, especially when you're a Browns fan and they blow, 17-point leads in the last 2 minutes of the game to the New York Jets and their backup quarterback. But anyways, the Bills are the best in football right now. Played the defending Super Bowl champions. They played the number 1 seed last year in the AFC. They've outscored them like 7-17 by 55 points. Are the Bills can anyone beat the Bills right now?
The Bills are 17-0. The Bills are going to be the first team since 1972 Dolphins to win every single game in the regular season and the postseason. They're going 20-0 this season. It's happening. Book it. Well, 19 because they'll have the number 1 seed in the playoffs and then Payton's out. So the Buffalo Bills are the best team in football. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in America. They're the best team in the world. They're the best team in the universe. They're the best team on the planet. The Buffalo Bills are that gosh darn good. They're going 20-0 or what's the number? They'll have the number. So 19-0 this season. They're winning all 17 regular season games. They're going to get that bye. They're going to win the division round. They're going to win. Oh, so that would be 20-0. Look at me, can't do math. 20-0. They're going 20-0. And it's going to be a fantastic thing to see because they deserve it. They absolutely deserve it. The Buffalo Bills are that damn good. It's very simple. Very, 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 very simple.
I don't know if they'll 17-0. However,
who's beating the Bills? Who's going to beat the Bills?
On paper,
there's one team left there's one team left in the NFL that can beat the Bills. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs in Week 6 in Arrowhead. You can bookmark this right now. You can put the pick on the graphic now. Are not beating the Buffalo Bills at home in Kansas City at 4:25 on CBS. It's not happening. It's not happening. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is not going to be able to keep up with the Buffalo Bills offense. The Buffalo Bills offense is going to smash the Kansas City Chiefs defense. The Kansas City Chiefs offense is going to struggle immensely, in my opinion, in my estimation, against this new revamped Buffalo defense. And you can book it. The Buffalo Bills are going 17-0. They're going to have the first round bye. They're going to beat whoever they beat in the division round. They're going to beat whoever they beat in the AFC Championship game. They're going to go to the Super Bowl, whether it's the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Commanders, the Giants, the Lions, the Vikings, the Saints, whoever. They're going to smash them. They're going to go 20-0, the first team since 1972 Dolphins to truly have a complete perfect season.
I don't even have anything to say. I don't even have anything to say. Let's move on. Listen, there was a lot of crazy things that happened in the NFL weekend, and there was a lot of teams that we thought were bad that had really good games, and teams that we thought were good that had really bad games. Let's start at the game that I was at. I was in Jacksonville for Jaguars versus Colts. They won 24-0. The Colts didn't put up a single point. The Jaguars look good and the Colts look really bad. Are you buying the Jaguars potentially in contention in the AFC South?
There's no contention. The Jacksonville Jaguars are winning the American Football Conference's South Division this season. It's happening. It is happening. The Texans stink. The Titans stink. The Colts currently stink. They're the only team in the division right now with a win. They're the only team in the division right now with a win. Not to mention the fact that they have a game against the Jets. They got a game against the Giants. Have a game against the not the Commanders, the Eagles, the Cowboys. Their game against the Cowboys, lucky enough for them, is in that window where the Cowboys are not going to have Dak Prescott. That's coming up. So they have that. That'll be a huge win for Trevor Lawrence. Has been incredible. James Robinson, Travis Etienne Jr. have been incredible. Evan Ingram has been used a lot. Shout out to Doug Peterson. If the Jacksonville Jaguars, when the Jacksonville Jaguars win the division, Doug Peterson is going to win the Coach of the Year. It's going to happen. Like, as soon as the last Sunday of football is over, just give him the award on the field then, because we all know he deserves it. This is not an if. This isn't a betting odds. This is what does Chuck do on Inside NBA? Guarantee. I am guaranteeing all of you lovely boys and girls out there watching this show right now that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win the American Football Conference's South Division this year, the year of our Lord 2022. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Who's going to do it? The Texans aren't going to do it. The Titans suck. We just saw them get blasted 41-7 on Monday Night Football. And the Colts have looked absolutely terrible so far this season. Jags winning the division. They're going to have 9 wins this season. Book it. What's next?
All right. Let's go to Miami. Tua threw for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, and the biggest fourth quarter comeback in Dolphins history. Are we buying the Miami Dolphins make some noise in the playoffs as a contender in the AFC?
No. Backup quarterbacks have thrown for 6 touchdowns before. Ryan Fitzpatrick has done it. Nick Foles has done it. Happens all the time. Tua's not good. He's not. I don't care. Tua Tagovailoa is not a good quarterback. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And when he regresses to the mean, and they play Buffalo this week, so I'm not even going to talk about Buffalo. As the season progresses and as Tua starts to regress back to the mean and a little bit below it, which is where he belongs, which is where he's been so far in his career, which is at the mean and a little bit below, we will all start to see that Tua Tagovailoa is nothing more than a bunch of hype. Tua's not good. He's average at best. 6 touchdowns mean nothing to me. In a shootout means nothing to me. Drop 6 touchdowns again. Throw for 400 yards again against a good defense. If Tua throws for 6 touchdowns and 300 plus yards against the Bills, I'll come back on this show next week and I'll say I was wrong. So far through 2 weeks, the Miami Dolphins have played a bad Patriots team, and they beat the Patriots and they beat the Ravens in a shootout in a game that had to rely on their defense because they don't really have much weapons. Although Lamar Jackson did play phenomenally good football. But yeah, whatever. I'm not sold on the Dolphins because they have 2 good seasons. They had 2 good weeks, one against a bad team, one against a borderline good team, a team that we've all acknowledged is likely not going to be that great because they don't have wide receivers. Now all of a sudden, this same team that the Dolphins beat, we get to come out here and start saying the Dolphins. Yeah, stop it. The Dolphins are going to regress back to the mean next week, 100%. They're getting blasted by the Bills next week. It's not even a debate.
I don't know, man. I kind of disagree with that one. I think there's a chance that Tua steps up this year because I think that Mike McDaniels actually believes in him. He's actually letting him rip. He's letting him throw the football down the field. And let's be honest, if Brian Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins this year, Tua wouldn't have gotten the chance to play in the fourth quarter. Tua would have gotten pulled after the 2 interceptions in the first half. So now that he has a coach that actually believes in him, I think Tua has all the confidence in the world. This was a huge step in the right direction for Tua because Tua, timeout. You already went on your spiel. Let me go on mine. Tua never. The problem with Tua was never this thing that he has a weak arm. Sure, he doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he has a more than adequate enough NFL arm. It was the fact that I felt like he played timid and he looked like scared. He played football like he was a sad puppy dog with his tail tucked in between his legs and his ears flopped down. He looked like he had no confidence out there, no swag, no energy. And guess what? He went out there. He made some mistakes. They were down 21. It was not a perfect performance by Tua and the Dolphins by any means. However, the fact that Tua and Mike McDaniel had the balls and the guts to still go out there and fight their way back into this game shows an improvement in Tua's confidence levels, which is what he needed. It wasn't the arm, it was the confidence. And I think because of that, Tua's going to carry this momentum moving forward.
Who's the Dolphins' backup quarterback?
Teddy Bridgewater.
Would you have pulled, if you were the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, would you have pulled out Tua for Teddy Bridgewater after throwing 2 picks? Would you?
I mean, would you have pulled Tua for Ryan Fitzpatrick?
Based on what we saw at the time and how it was working, yeah, I would have.
Yeah, but Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't have anything to gain. Ryan Fitzpatrick was never going to be the Dolphins franchise quarterback. You needed to let Tua get out there. You needed to let Tua get out there and make mistakes. Because if you don't make the mistakes, you're not going to grow. So Tua was playing very timid because he felt like if he did make a mistake, guess what? He's getting put on the bench for an old man with a big beard.
Brian Flores recognized, first of all, that's not disrespect Ryan Fitzpatrick. That beard
I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. I take that
back.
But
Brian Flores recognizes that when you're in a conference with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, you can't have a quarterback that is giving defenses free possessions. That's not how it works. You can't do that. The bar, the worst good quarterback in the AFC right now is Deshaun Watson, and he's not even actively playing. So we exclude Deshaun Watson. The worst good quarterback in the AFC right now would probably be Trevor Lawrence. Is Tua better than Trevor Lawrence? No, he's not. He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not better than Pat Mahomes. He's not better than Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. He's not. He's not better than Derek Carr. He's not better than Russell Wilson. He's just not. He is just not. And as it stands right now today, you could make an argument that Mac Jones is better than Tua Tagovailoa. I wouldn't make that. I wouldn't make that argument. But there is an argument to be made that Mac Jones is more equipped to lead a championship-ready roster right now today than Tua Tagovailoa. That's a fact. You can make that argument. I wouldn't. People would, and I wouldn't be shocked at them for making it. I say that to say this: the Miami Dolphins aren't just competing to be a wild card team and just go wherever the wind takes them. The Miami Dolphins want to win a championship. You're not winning a championship with Tua as your quarterback. You're just not. It's not happening. Not in this world, not in this life, not in the next life or the life after that. Not in this universe or the 13 adjacent universes that are around us. It's not happening. Tua Tagovailoa is not a championship quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa is not capable of leading a championship caliber team. And because of that, I am not going to be all impressed because Tua threw 6 touchdowns against the Ravens. Because Nick Foles has thrown for 6 touchdowns before. We didn't go all crazy about Nick Foles. Ryan Fitzpatrick's thrown 6 touchdowns before, and you sat here and told me that Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't really done much in the NFL, which he hasn't. Tua throwing 6 touchdowns, great for Tua. As it stands as a whole, that doesn't move the needle on how I feel about the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to be a wild card team this season, and they're going to lose and they're not going to win a playoff game. It's very simple.
For me, it was less about 6 touchdowns. It was less about the number, more about the heart and the guts from Tua. That I feel like was an improvement. I think is a good sign moving forward for the Dolphins. But we're going to move forward because we have Thursday Night Football to watch. So let's get into our Week 3 pick'em. So last week, you tied it up, like we mentioned earlier. You tied it up with me, Mark, because of that wonderful Monday night game with Bulls and Vikings that I was not very thrilled with. Yeah. So we are both tied at 17, 14, and 1. We overall had a pretty week last week. I mean, oh my goodness, there was a whole lot of surprise games and upsets, and we just did a lot right last week. So we're hoping to get more right this week. Me and Marcus have more games we disagreed on than ever. This is an all-time record. 3 disagreements. I have the Texans. He has the Bears. I have the Falcons. He has the Seahawks. And I picked the Monday night game. I picked the Giants to start off 3-0, whereas Marcus picked the Cowboys to get the victory with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So, Marcus, these games, which ones are you most excited to watch? Because let's be honest, we disagreed on all the boring ones. So, like,
None of them. All those games are boring. They mean nothing.
yeah, exactly. So,
I'm excited to see Saquon Barkley do work, though. I think it's nice that we have Saquon back and he's fully healthy. That's kind of cool. I do think that Cowboys-Giants game can be interesting. I'm sitting here and I'm going to change one of my picks. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at him, and I'm going to change one of my picks, I think.
Which one?
It's not official. It's not official. No, we're doing it. We're doing it. The Vikings, I can't. The Vikings lost to the Lions last year. The Lions offense, by the way, as far as total points is concerned, is third in the NFL right now behind the Bills and the Chiefs. They got 71. They are looking incredible so far through 2 weeks. I love what Amon-Ra St. Brown has been doing. The run game has been looking pretty good. The O-line's been holding up. Jared Goff actually looks like a capable quarterback, and the defense has been able to hold their own. I say all that to say this. We know that the recipe to success as far as beating the Vikings defense is running the football and keeping them on their heels. That is something that through 2 weeks of NFL football, the Lions have been able to do. If we're being completely honest, the Lions are 4 botched plays in that game against the Eagles from being 2-0 right now instead of being 1-1. The Vikings are going to beat the Lions in Minnesota, I think. We'll get the graphic adjusted between now and Sunday so they can post. The Lions are going to beat the Vikings in Minnesota, and that is my upset of the week. Lions over Vikings in Minnesota.
To be honest, I wouldn't even be mad about that. And if that does happen, then I'll give up on the Vikings, and then my new team will be the Lions. Because I love what the Lions are doing, don't get me wrong. And I did really think about picking the Lions because it's a divisional game, but I felt like, the Vikings are coming back off a loss. They want to bounce back.
All the line to the Minnesota Vikings is just absolutely despicable. It's despicable.
Buying in. But we do have a game tonight, though, that we have to get to. Browns versus Steelers. Who are you picking? This game's going to be boring.
It's the Browns. It's going to be one of those knock them out. I have the score being 10-7. Browns are going to win. It's going to be a run game. It's going to be
10-7.
It's going to be a game dominated on the ground. Like, neither team can really rely on the passing game. It's going to come down to who can do more on the ground. Nick Chubb has been doing wonders for me in fantasy. Oh, and by the by, it's not this week, but week 4 in our fantasy league, it's me versus
each other.
It's going to be fantastic.
Oh,
I'm going to love every second of it. I scored.
I'm rolling in that league. I'm 2-0. I am 2-0.
Me too. I don't care. I've scored the most points in our fantasy league so far, in the bragging rights fantasy league so far. Last week I had 203 points last week, which was incredible. Felt really good to spank JT like that. Looking to do much of the same. This week doesn't matter to me. I'm more concerned about week 4 against Payton, so I can come back on this show in week 5 and just gloat.
He just wants to talk his talk, bro. He just wants to talk his talk. That's all he wants.
Yeah,
Listen, I drafted that team. Remember, I drafted that team and I was like barely even conscious.
I don't want to hear any of it.
I couldn't even like.
I don't want to hear any of that.
I couldn't even stand up. I had like COVID. I was gonna like. In my bed. I couldn't even walk here, bro.
I don't want to hear it.
If we lose, it's because I wasn't like cognitive at the time that I made my pick.
It's because my team's better than yours. It's really simple.
Whatever.
It is.
I got. What are you saying?
I'm saying my team's better than yours, 1,000%. Run down the roster. You can run down the roster.
Just as long as McCaffrey doesn't get hurt, I'm good. But tonight I got the Browns, of course, obviously. I think that there's a good chance we see Kenny Pickett tonight. I am taking the Steelers a cover. I think they are having to cover a 4.5-point spread. So I have the Browns winning by a field goal, 20-17. I think Nick Chubb is going to really just ball out tonight. I think that while the defense looked very bad last week, I think they're going to look a little bit better this week for the Browns, mainly because the Steelers' offense is like the least potent offense in the entire NFL. They're the worst offense in the league, especially with Mitch. Mitch doesn't look good. Mitch has kind of let me down. I kind of had a little bit of faith in him, but I think we might see Kenny Pickett tonight. I think the Steelers end up losing by a field goal. Browns haven't lost Thursday Night Football since 2016. Steelers haven't won Thursday Night Football since 2018. I think that trend continues. So give me Browns by a field goal. And we are off to go watch Thursday Night Football. Thank you all so much for watching. Marcus, do you want to keep roasting me a little bit more today.
I'm not
For
even
that Vikings. So in conclusion today, Vikings suck.
Yeah.
Philly's good.
Yeah.
Bills are good.
Yeah.
Tua sucks still, apparently.
Yes.
Yes. And Jaguars are the best team in the league.
Who's I didn't say that. I mean, it could be.
Trevor, see, my problem with Trevor Lawrence is that he doesn't act like a dog with rabies. I want him to be like a complete lunatic.
Because he's a civil human being, that's not good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I want you to be like foaming at the mouth in the pregame if you're my franchise quarterback. I want you to be like borderline belong in I don't know.
I bet dollars to donuts Trevor Lawrence wins more playoff games for the rest of the duration of Deshaun Watson's contract than Deshaun Watson does.
Wait, okay, hold up. You said you think that Trevor Lawrence will win more playoff games
in the next 4 years.
Okay.
I think Trevor Lawrence has the potential to win more playoff games than Deshaun Watson does as a Cleveland Brown. I do.
I don't agree with that.
That's fine.
Trevor Lawrence looked good. Okay, Trevor Lawrence looked good on Sunday. I think that was his best game as a pro. But dude, come on. You're gonna tell me that he's gonna be better than Deshaun Watson?
No, I didn't say that. See, you're not listening. You're not listening. I said he's gonna win more playoff games than Deshaun Watson.
Why would the worst player on the worst team win more playoff games than the better player on the better team?
Well, he's not the worst player on the worst team. He's the best player on a.
No, not the worst player. The worst player because he's worse than Deshaun Watson.
That's fine, but the Jaguars, when you're looking at it from a long-term standpoint, the road of resistance in the AFC South is not as stiff as it is in the AFC North, which means the Jaguars' likelihood of making it to the playoffs over the next 4 years is automatically much higher than that of the Browns because you have to go through the Vikings or because you have to go through the Bengals and the Ravens. Because of that, the Jaguars, given the fact that they are building around Trevor Lawrence, given the fact that Trevor Lawrence is not a shabby quarterback, and I think we could make an argument that come next season, potentially he could be on the same level as Deshaun Watson because he's not a bad QB. He is improving. He's getting better. He's got a good coach in Doug Peterson. Absolutely, I could see Trevor Lawrence in the next 4 years winning more playoff games than Deshaun Watson. 100%. And
with that, we're signing off. Everybody, have a great night. I'm about to go Marcus after the show. Tune back in next week at 7:30 on Thursday night before Thursday Night Football. And with that, everybody have a fantastic night and go Browns. You're ridiculous, bro.